First things first, so welcome to the mini proposal workshop. At the start, I would like that everybody who has joined here and would be interested to participate, put your name in the Miro board on one of the seats, or write it on the chat in a Zoom call, so I can. So this is used for sometimes the discussions go very well and people like want to contact you or like your ideas and want to support you. So they will have a way to recognize you. And when you create your sticky, also add some way to contact you, like a Discord handle or a LinkedIn or Gmail or like email or something. But it's not mandatory. So if you want to be an onlooker, you can be that. And the second thing is there is a link to here for a Miro board. Let me copy this. A link to the template. So we are going through this session. We probably will only touch the first chapter and perhaps second chapter, which is like how to create the problem statement and how to define a problem solution. But everybody who was interested for the full template, I will put it on the Zoom chat. So you can use it, copy paste it, or just use it for yourself to brainstorm on the ideas. And another thing is, I'm gonna share, if there is any teams in here, I would also like to know, like for several people from the same, so for the same like proposal. So this is, and you can also hit me up if you are interested more in these kinds of sessions outside after Townhall. So we can help you to do the entire proposal, not just the first steps we are doing here. We're good. But yeah, so let me kindly explain you quickly what is mini proposal workshop. So the whole setup is now done. So in the mini proposal process, the mini doesn't mean that you cannot use it for bigger ideas, but the point of that is that you think in a lower, like a smaller scope of things. So when you have an idea of changing the world, then you can't say that, okay, your problem is that the world doesn't work for you, or it doesn't work that well. So in a mini way, in a mini proposal, this will help you to like scope it down. So what is the exact problem you're having? Do you have the problem with the climate change, like we have in Melanie here, or you have an issue with some kind of business relations or schooling, like educational systems? And from there, we go even a step further. So what kind of education would it be? Is it like development, or would it be like language something, or biological, or like you scope it down in a smaller scope area. So when you create your program statement, everybody will have like a aha understanding of what it is, not like okay, this is such a grand scope, I'm not sure what you're actually addressing. And if you do that in like a smaller scope, it's much easier to provide a solution to. And in the solutions, we kind of do the same thing. We're gonna pick a path, like what it can be. Sometimes you will find out that your problem is small, but you have like 4 or 5 different solutions for that. But this is actually a great thing, because then you can use the same problem statement to create several different proposals and have several different teams to execute on them. And this is also incentivized, like not incentivized, but increase the like likelihood of getting higher ratings from community advisors, because you are clearly articulating what is your idea about and how do you solve it, and the plan of that and how much it costs. And it's same for the voters. it's much easier for them to understand the problem. And the way we do this workshop is that we start with questions. So I have been practicing this several times now, and thanks to all of you who has been joining every now and then to these sessions. And here is pretty much a question, and you answer. I have to help to guide you to like elaborate it on more, but for now it's divided into 11 chapters or 13. So we start with problem statements because that is the main cause of what you're actually going to solve, and then we brainstorm some solutions, and from these two we can pretty much think of what could be the title. And then next up, we are thinking about teams who are going to be executing on the proposals. And then we go a bit of meta level and think about what kind of proposal it is. So for the CAs and voters to understand what the scope of that, and the target audience to go back into who are we addressing, defining success, so everybody knows what are the call or missions are. Key performance indicators, so this is something for auditing and for the Catalyst community to see and track how well you do, and so we can track it. And we have a chapter for like having this experience charts or flow charts, how the people move, so people have like a visual understanding how the program or service or product you're using, how can it be used, and how people flow in it. And the later stage, we will take these roles, we come up with aerial and give them some kind of tasks and estimate them. So we could start estimating the total budget. And finally, we just round it all up. So this would be a mini proposal workshop. From this, you get a lot of like good ideas and like a final state of what you want to write on. But it has like one missing link that you now have to take the pretty much copy paste from the sticky to the document. But for now, you do a little bit formatting, but you don't add more info into it. So far, when I have like done 5 proposals and 4 mini proposals and 1 big proposal, which actually didn't fit, so it didn't get funded. But all the mini proposals we have created, all of them have been funded and highly rated. So, so that's one good thing to argue here. Okay, I lost my track. I wanted to say something else actually, but so any questions about the process or some questions so far? Or we jump right into it.
Do you have a question to start with? Oh, Bruno has some ideas. So go with Bruno. I just wondering if you had something, because I have a couple ideas that might help for everybody. Cardano for Climate is organizing an event, and how do you work through that? The other one is there's lots of challenge teams coming along, and how do they communicate with one another? Those are 2 ideas that if you run out of something else to use, you can use them. But I saw somebody said something in the chat, Tevo.
Yeah.
We have Bruno has something.
Bruno, can you tell what's in your head? What kind of problems what problem do you see? Like start with that, or what is the idea, so we can derive a problem from that.
Hello. So this is something I've kind of been thinking about for a while, and it's to do with permaculture and like how to increase the use, like the mentality of people into that kind of area, you know. And it's like something I feel like can be really helpful for yields and for a multitude of things. So it can help on different layers, you know, all the layers of the cake. So I feel like it's one of those things that it can be really helpful to people, but I just feel like people don't know about it. So it's kind of like blockchain in a lot of ways. And yeah, I feel like through Catalyst and through like incentivizing, you know, through gamification of like through the blockchain and gamification of like the blockchain and things like that, I feel like it's got a great potential to encourage people to do that without them even knowing it's helping themselves, but it's encouraging them to do it anyways, you know?
So your idea is how to increase what culture?
Permaculture. So it's like kind of the idea of making the land provide for itself and making the land like regenerating the area and, you know, trying to get as many yields as possible at the same time, but not that are, you know, not extracting from the land, but using what you already have. So you have the energy from the sun, you have maybe a river flowing through, something like this. You're making the most out of the nature rather than extracting from the land, if that makes sense. And it's just a concept that I've been like really interested in. I kind of want to, you know, spread the word about it. You know, it's something that I'm passionate about, and I feel like a lot of people can benefit from, you know, especially in like Africa. You know, there's a lot of droughts, there's a lot of like extreme weather conditions, and this is something that can mitigate the harm that those things cause. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Bruno, I'm gonna jump in.
Yeah, feel
and
free.
tell you right off the bat, Cardano for Climate, there are so many people there with the permaculture backgrounds, regenerative agriculture, right on the same train of thought as you are, including myself. This is a very big topic and really awesome to be dealing with. And I hope that you'll find some collaborations on it.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. That's why I'm here. I'm kind of trying to like see what other people are trying to propose as well, and how maybe we can, you know, come together. And because my ideas are very, how can I say, they're very like minimal. I don't have the whole picture in my head. I just have bits and pieces that I can see, and I feel like I need other perspectives to be able to, you know, put all our brains together and see like a.
Can I just make a suggestion though, Tevo, for your workshop and your recording? If you went through something kind of basic, like permaculture is very topic oriented, creating an event or the challenge team social networks, creating those, they can be maybe used for more purposes at this point. And Bruno, we're on board on the same topic, so this is not something that's going to get ignored, but we'll go through Tevo's system with this, with a bigger group of interested people in permaculture and regenerative, and maybe together we can work on that proposal. This is just my suggestion, Tevo, because of the fact that it is so topic specific, but there could be other people that want to hear about it and see how you work through it.
So what are the, okay, so we know that you want to increase, so that's like the end goal. So what exact problem do you see in, like, are there like plants dying off, or like is the land not used, or where do you see the exact problem, or the land is not used to make high yields of like monetary value, or is not used for food? And does it also include some kind of land used for like housing? So can you shed a light a bit of that permaculture, because I'm actually not that adaptive with it. So first I would like that we clarify what does it mean, a permaculture. Can you speak on that, Bruno? So is it only related to land use, or is it related to the growing plants?
Oh, it's actually, I mean, it can be, I mean, it's kind of versatile in that aspect. Like you could say permaculture is like capturing energy or capturing water, like in your house, like rainfall, and just like capturing, how do you say, like we're using solar panels to capture like heat energy from the sun and stuff. This is like a permaculture principle, because you're making the most. You're here, your house is getting hit with the sun all day, and that heat is not really impacting. It's not getting used by plants. It's not getting, you know, it's not getting captured at all. So that's like another way that you can say it's like a permaculture principle. Another way you could even have like a garden on top of your roof or something. I've seen these things before, like these roof gardens or like vertical gardens, like all making the most of the space and making the most, but obviously in a nature orientated way, like not trying to, extract or like damage anything, but trying to make it better as much as possible.
The thing I think about, sorry, Benjamin and Bruno, the thing I think about permaculture, and the one thing that I remember is everything has three purposes. So if you have water, say you use it for washing your dishes and you use something with a sustainable liquid, you may be able to use that on watering your garden. And it's also been collected off of your roof. So rather than it just falling on the ground, you've actually made use of it, and you've made use of it 3 times. When they talk about a single-use plastic bag, you can make uses out of that 3 times by using it several times over and then disposing of it the proper way, or getting the proper compostable bag as well, choosing the right one to begin with.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So another thing is now, since you bring in solar panels, and I actually have some experience with that, I think we need to scope it down to a location. So do you have any specific place you want to start testing out the permaculture? Yeah. So basically.
Well, like I live in Portugal, and I mean, in terms of ease of doing stuff, it would probably be close by. But in the future, I'd be open to like going to Africa and trying to, find somewhere that really does need it as much as possible, so we can, provide the help to the people that need it most. But like, yeah, right now in terms of like a immediate action I can do here in Portugal, yeah. It would be like an example, you could say.
Portugal. And Africa. Okay, so that's good information, because there is one funny thing with Africa. So currently, actually, Africa doesn't. I guess it does use a lot of solar panels, but the issue with that is that so far, as much as I know, and where the people want solar panels, they don't actually use that much of electricity, and you can't really transfer the electricity because there is no infrastructure for that. And like there are like huge ideas that you could make like a massive solar farm, and then create a factory to create these HDO, or was it not HDO, but these hydro balloons, which require a lot of energy to create. But then you can use trucks to carry these hydrogens over to somewhere else nations, because there are 5,000, I don't know, maybe numbers are not correct, but a lot of times like energy efficient compared to other energy sources. Regarding Portugal, I don't know. So, but I do like the. I don't even know how to write Portugal. Okay, I'm just kind of not.
And kind of like you were mentioning, in my ideas in my head, I was kind of thinking of how to decentralize or democratize like energy, food, and water through permaculture principles, and having like a place where people can go to join and like learn about these principles and how they can implement it. And then also from there, like distribute, like if they have too much energy, too much water, too much food, they have a marketplace where they can distribute that peer to peer, rather than, us all relying on big corporations to get our food. And if anything in that supply chain goes wrong, we're screwed, basically. We don't get our food, or we don't get water, or we're missing something because we're relying on these big companies. And I mean, that's kind of like the whole point of the blockchain, right? It's just democratizing everything, decentralizing everything. It's all owned by everyone.
You may also want to add a piece for resources for permaculture, because it is a whole systems design approach, very similar to PMBOK and other things. There's people that have actually been working on this system for a very, very long time. So you may want to have an educational resource where people can go for it.
Okay, we're getting more information here. So you're so it's not really a problem that the land is not used correct. Okay, so there, now we have to do an actual distinction. Do you want the land used effectively, or you want the land to be used in a decentralized manner? So you're either like, you try to give the stakeholders pretty much a power of the land, or you want to make the land create a maximum amount of yield. And they are actually two different things. So in what way would you, they can end up in both in the same direction. So in centralized way, you have more control over the analytics and the direction of land. In a decentralized way, you have to hope that all the stakeholders of that land have the same mindset. And so where would you land in this? Would you still want to democratize it because it's also a good thing, or would you rather try to make maximum amount of value of the land?
Without trying to complicate it too much, I would want both, but obviously try to give a guide in the beginning. So have like an initial few set of principles that kind of like increase, I don't know, you can have some sort of, how can I say, gamification of it, in terms of like, if you do certain things and you can prove that you've done it a certain way, then you will receive like a bonus, for example. So, okay, now I know that if I do it these certain ways, I'm getting a bonus. Obviously, it's for a reason that you're getting a bonus, not because it's benefiting me, but it's benefiting the planet, if that makes sense. And then eventually, obviously, you can democratize that because people are going to realize, okay, we've got new systems, we've got new things that we know is going to help, and we know it's like through research we've realized that it's a helpful tool. And then people can vote that in as a new like incentive mechanism, which is like, okay, we can add this in as an additional incentive mechanism. So I don't know if that answers your question at all. Maybe
it answered in a way that it felt like you want to decentralize the land. So you want to give the power to the stakeholders, but add like a governance mechanism behind it, where every now and then people like vote, was the land well used? And if it was, then I guess some incentives come from treasury.
Yeah, kind of. So like, rather than they have control of the land, the stakeholders have like an input into the benefits of, so essentially there will still be like a landowner or a land like the person who's responsible and the person who's there on the ground, and they'll still be making decisions, but the incentive mechanisms that they'll be like reliant on, you know, it's going to be decided by a community of people, including themselves. That's what I want to do, is include the person on the ground, the farmer or whatever, and get them to contribute to the system as well, have a say in how their funds get distributed, and you know how the system goes.
So we did add now a little bit solution, which was sometimes it's good to get the insight from different place. So let's try to reframe, what problem do you see? Like we need to come up with like what problem, like a problem statement from all of that information we want. So there are two differences now. I think we can evolve from the fact that land is not used correctly, or that permaculture is stagnant. So these were like starting keynotes, but more to the later discoveries where land is not democratized.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so now we actually made our first milestone in this process, where we got down a problem statement. So land is not democratized to create the value. So I added this on the second chapter, and now we follow with the question, why is the selected problem a problem? So we create a question from it. Why is it the problem that the land is not democratized?
So I guess that goes to the point of like the monopolies. So if the land is not democratized, the people that are in control are like a central few, and likely they are not informed, or they just don't have the incentive structure to do what's best for the land or for the people. They have the incentive structure to do what's best for them. So typically it's monoculture, like the way that people cultivate, and like they don't try to have multiple uses for the land when land can be used for so many different things. It's kind of like, a good example is that back in London where I used to live, they had the Olympic Stadium, which they built for the Olympic Games in 2020 or whenever it was, 2012. And for so long, the Olympic Stadium was completely empty. They were not using it for anything. When the Olympic Stadium is literally a multi-use venue, like it can be used for anything. Like there was literally thousands of sports being played there. It's kind of like that, but with nature and with basically everything, all aspects of our lives. We have so many uses for a garden. We have so many uses for, your house. Your house can do a lot of things besides just shelter you. So I guess, yeah, that's the problem. Why the problem's a problem. That's the thinking behind it.
Okay, people don't have multiple uses for land. I think we can elaborate here. I guess one of the reasons is that they are missing the skill levels and the economical like knowledge or resources to connect with some other commercial products to sell or whatever they could grow or produce in the land.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any speculations why you think that land is not governed by, like, why the land is not used if it's owned by governments or some individual who has just no desire to use it for anything?
I'd say probably just there's no, I guess the vision is not there for these people, maybe, or something along these lines. They don't have the perception or maybe the information that, a lot of people maybe in the Cardano ecosystem do. Like they try to find the solutions, whereas governments probably try to find the problems and are more, obviously they have different problems than maybe we do, They're worried about wars or whatever, and we're worried about how we can help our everyday lives of one another.
Okay, Zoe, Kleist, and Anne Banjiro, do you have also any ideas or feedback you would like to add? So,
sorry.
Thank you. Is that me, Anne Wanjiro? Did you ask me?
Yes, I did.
Hi. I'm sorry, it's my first time in these meetings, so I'm just a bit shy. But just listening to that, in Africa, I suppose you would say that people like to speculate on land sometimes, and they keep it idle for many years, and they don't really know what else to do with it as they're speculating on it. It lies idle and unused. And sometimes they're just waiting for the land to gain value, and it can take even like many years. I'm thinking of a case like my dad. He keeps losing land that's lying furlough because other people come and squat on it because he didn't really do anything with it. So I don't know whether that's just the thought that came to my mind, that could be one of the reasons why they don't use the land.
Okay, so from moving there, so what we are trying to do is now like actually scoping down to the human problem and understanding. So one thing is to say that the land is not democratized to create value, but another thing to say is to go into specific, and what I like there when we mentioned people don't have multiple uses for land. That could be a problem statement, because that revoked some, brought up some discussions like why is it not used, and it has many implications of solutions. Another thing is to go national level and say that land is not governed by governance very effectively. So between these two solutions, Bruno, what, since you're the idea owner, which one would you prefer to address first? Do you like to address the people behind them, or you would like to address the nations behind them?
Probably go for the people. That's probably a easier target.
Okay. So people don't have multiple uses for land, and that is actually a problem statement. We could improve it, but I think we don't have to. And now in a new step, in this process there are actually like 3 color codes. One is the red, which is like the main topic you start with. So we started with what problem do we see? So we talked about and try to re-understand what's the problem is, because I didn't know what's permaculture. Now I know. I'm smarter now, thanks to you. And then we ended up with the problem statement. So land is not democratized to create value. We went deeper and asked why is it a problem, and now we ended up with the answering, oh, okay, the actual problem is that people don't have multiple uses for land. So this is what brings up like the reason why we want to democratize it. So this could be a solution instead of problem statement. Now there is an option here. So these light red ones are like optionals. So do you want to go deeper on the problem statement? So what would happen is that we would answer a question, why is it a problem that people don't use land for multiple uses? Which will kind of take us back to what we talked about earlier. So that get like, yeah, basically we just have more reasoning behind that, and we could get the better problem statement from that. Or we skip that part and we move on to the solution steps, and we start brainstorming solutions and pick some of them. So Bruno, back to you. Which do you want to improve upon the problem statement, or you think the problem statement people don't have multiple uses for land is a good one, or you want to rename it?
I'm not too sure. I don't know if anyone wants to have an input if they think it's a good one, or if they think of something better, or. But I don't know. In terms of what I'm trying to address, I feel like it does. I don't know. Maybe I could add something about how multiple uses for the land, but also I want to regenerate the land. So my kind of idea, even if it's just like a personal project, is to go to like an area where the land is completely like devastated. Not devastated, but like desertified or something like this. There's a lot of places like that here in Portugal, and try and make that green again, make that like alive again, rather than having just a piece of land there degraded. Bring back the life to the land. So I don't know if that can be incorporated within the same statement, or if that would just be like a completely different statement. But that's.
Yep, I think it would be a different statement in a sense that
exactly.
So this is a little like why it differs from the mini proposals. So I like to put them into separate buckets. So when you address the land is dying by bad use of land, it requires a different solution and more scope down solution. And you mitigate, how do you regenerate, how do you revive dead land, and then the plan how to do it. And this is more likely to get good score and funded because you're assessing, you're addressing specific problem. And another thing is people don't have multiple uses for land. So this is more an educational side of it, where you teach other metrics or avenues where could you find skills or people to reuse your land. And that requires another different sets of solutions, which are not at all related to this, but that could be one of the solutions. So if you have 2 or 3 different proposals addressing these separately, you're much more likely to succeed in one of them or many of these ideas and get more feedback and score and perhaps even funded. But if you put it all in under one rainbow, or not the rainbow, but the one proposal, then the likelihood of you're succeeding is less, but it is possible, of course, because big companies do that. They're we solve this. But in this environment, I have seen that it is much better strategy to start small or start, or even if you want to address all of these, just make them separate. So it's easier for the volunteers here to read and understand your idea, because we are not VC veterans who have been doing funding for 10 or 20 years. We are regular people. We just read your idea. We want to understand who is doing it, how is doing it, and we're voting. So the easier and digestible you make your problems and solutions, the higher chance to get somewhere with this.
Tevo, I really like what you've done because you've gone to the problem statement. Permaculture is a solution. Regenerative agriculture is a solution to the fact that people don't have multiple uses for land, and they may not be making use of their land. So I really love watching what you've just done with this, rough idea and bringing it together. So this is really cool, because when somebody owns a piece of land that they go, okay, well, this is causing me X number of dollars every month on the mortgage. How can I make it pay for itself? Or I care about climate change. How can I draw down carbon through my land? Should I be planting trees? Whatever, all these different questions. But I really love the fact that you've done this. And one of the solutions could be a permaculture system. One of the solutions could be going towards regenerative agriculture. And maybe there's something else completely that we don't know about yet, that we haven't created. So just wanted to bring that up. Really love what you're doing.
So change your answer into problem statement. We put that there, problem statement. People don't have multiple uses for land. So first question, what solutions do we need? So considering the problem statement, so what kind of solutions you are thinking about?
So education as a solution, I guess.
Yeah.
Like just general education resources.
What do you mean by structure?
It'd be like a kind of like an onboarding type of structure, if that makes sense. I don't know, some sort of way that people can sign up, or people can, register their land with the platform, something along those lines, or register their home.
Okay, so it application, and I assume it's going to be an application, so decentralized.
Yeah.
So you're already in a Cardano world here. Dating is decentralized. What else we could do here? So,
would you also do some kind of campaign or awareness? Because people could just be sitting on land and not realizing that they're doing that, like some kind of an awareness.
Yeah, that would be good. Some sort of like, I don't know, maybe partnering with some sort of event or something like this in certain areas that we know will need it, or something to I was thinking something guided towards like, oh no, it's skipped me now. Damn. Oh, come back to me. It'll get back to me as well. Oh, yeah, I got it. So I have seen a project in the past in Africa, not in Africa, sorry, in India, and they were doing something interesting, which was like, they had an event which was like partnered with a municipality, a certain municipality or district, and they got all the villagers involved to make water harvesting structures, and essentially all the villagers signed up, and there was like an incentive. Whichever villagers got the most water harvesting structures built around their village would get like will be the winners of this this competition, and they would get like additional help in improving the land and like bringing back a lot of the vegetation that was there before, and the topsoil that was washed away by a lot of like monsoon rains and stuff like that. So some sort of incentive like that in Africa, I feel like would be really helpful. So getting like villages or like local communities to compete, but the competition is building I don't know, something that's gonna like water harvesting structure, something like this. I guess it probably links more to the other problem statement, though. The problem statement we had before of the dying land, or the land not being used properly.
Basically, there are, I think, 5 different solutions now. In many cases, you perhaps would like to address many of them, but scoping down to this mini proposal workshop itself, I would like to only pick one of them, because it's going to get very detailed. How do you solve this one thing, and later on you can build on that after one like area is done. So what is the benefit of it? Like, what is the highest impact, pretty much? It would be nice if everybody would be in a Mareboard, but I guess there is not much of it. Then you could do some voting and stuff. But in terms of impact, what do you think are the main from these 5? What could be the highest impact from these? We would do it only. How to explain? If you would do only one of that solution, which one of them would have the highest impact?
Probably think the one that I mentioned into detail, the incentivized competition, I guess.
The resources.
Yeah, so trying to get those on the ground and get people informed straight away on what they have to do, and then those things are going to benefit people regardless of whether they win the competition or not. It's going to be like a passive benefit of just participating.
There is now one issue with this, that assuming that people don't have the education, then they're not actually able to compete. So to me, the education is root of that. And when we go even further back, you won't be able to get educated if you are not even aware of that education. So
I'm going to jump in a little bit here, Tevo, because there's a lot of students that go through permaculture courses looking for land to actually rejuvenate. And by focusing on what Bruno is interested in, he can just connect the resources, those individuals, to his solution as well. Yeah, the courses are very big and a lot of people go through them and then they have no work to do necessarily afterwards. So that making that connection between what Bruno sees as a problem and the people that have the education completely sidesteps having to teach everybody about that education, which is a big course in itself.
Mm. Yeah, that's kind of the idea, is to like teach people through doing it. They do it and then they start seeing the benefits of it, and then of course provide them the resources to look further into it. But once they do it and they see the benefits, they will logically, be incentivized to continue. Yeah.
Is this the young guardians, the one you just mentioned, the people who get educated but have no land? Or...
That's one of them. I'm just going to look up another link. This is all local stuff for me that I'm aware of, but in any other country, this is going on all over the place. Urge permaculture is another one. Permaculture is, a design system that began open source, and a lot of it has become closed source, where you have to go through these programs to be a certified permaculture representative. Other places are open source. So there's both. It kind of split way back in history.
Okay, this is very helpful, because that actually shows that maybe the education is not really that bigger issue, and it would be much better if you use the existing partners and people who already have the education to help the people with the land. That's just my speculation. That depends if that would be a good solution for you. I see that you like to do incentivized competitions, but I think before you can do that, now that depends, of course, from the target audience. Who are you targeting? If the people already have the skill, or let's say they don't need the skill, they have the land, you have the partners who have the knowledge how to improve the land, then it's all fine. But if you are in a place that you have, like, that part of like village number 2, you don't know anybody from there, what they're doing with their land and do they want to improve it, then you first would need to create an awareness campaign to even get the people. So what I'm trying to say is that maybe it would make sense to start with awareness, but it depends, do you already have the people who have the land, and or the area, or where people are looking for help in the land. And if you don't know that, then you need to do the first step before. And the structural onboarding application, I think that is like an overarching tooling for all of that, but that's already a different side of that. So if you're not a programmer, I think that is somewhere you need more partnership to build that solution. And first, you might not even need an application for that, because do it with Excel, do it with human-to-human discussions, with emails and stuff. And if you get one circle going, one success, and the value is created, then you bring in people who automate the process, and then I would suggest with this solution. Networking with buyers, I think that could be used for incentivizing also. Yeah, so that was a lot of self-talk, but did you understand my thought process?
Yeah, absolutely, it makes sense.
So yeah, the question is, do you have the people, a specific target area to help already, or you think your first solution would be to create the campaign to find the people who are looking for help?
I do have a couple areas in mind, even in Africa, but then that would also be dependent on like other people, like outside companies, I guess, that I would need like rely on funding for or something to do that. Like it would need to be some sort of partnership I do with some like another crypto company. But if it was in terms of doing it myself, like a completely fresh startup, then yeah, then I'll probably have to do an awareness campaign or something of the sort, or networking.
Yeah, so you do in tech. Okay, so let's ask it differently. Which one you would prefer to address then? Like, do you want to take it from a position where you think you are going to build a network, so awareness campaign, or from a position that you leverage your current partnerships or the people you know to help them get started with the land?
I'd probably go with the partnership as in like plan A.
All right. So select your best partner. So this is like the main solution: resources for helping them to make the change, for helping landowners to make the change. And you would prefer to make the change through incentivized competition. And I think it's a great idea. It has potentially greatest impact. Let's put it this way. And so let's elaborate on the competition. Since you now kind of have the partnership in mind, do you know where the land is located, what it's used for, or you don't have that like information? What is the current situation with the land and what needs to be done there?
So trying to focus on like the land that's being least used, or so either barren land or land where monoculture or is being practiced, something like that, where large pieces of monoculture. That is like the competition, and I'm talking about like it should be like measurable, quite easily measurable. So if you have like too many variables, like I'll do whatever you want, and then we have to measure what's going to be worth more. So I guess water harvesting structures is a good starting point.
What is good starting point?
Sorry?
What is good starting point?
Sorry? I didn't understand.
What is a good starting point? You said something specific.
Sorry, water harvesting structures. So not structures as in like physical structures, like digging holes, ponds, ditches, stuff like this. That's going to capture water, rainfall, essentially.
Water harvesting ponds.
Yeah, that's probably a good term to use.
I also see a lot of tree planting exercises, would that be something that would be done? Tree planting?
Yeah, I feel like that's another good one.
That's pretty popular here.
Yeah, that's an easily measurable one as well. So that could be a good
and it can be done by children as well.
Yeah, exactly. It can involve schools. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Lots of organizations can get involved as well, like corporates and stuff. I know they have a lot of. I'm sure someone was talking about that today.
I guess everything is like a lot of things are measurable. Even if you put like carrots or radish down, you can count in kilograms how much you got of them. But I guess with that you have to know that the cycle of you have to do some beans one first year. But if it's a barren land, how do you even kickstart that? Like, I guess from barren land you can get water, but you cannot even plant trees there. So you need to somehow revitalize the soil.
So this is where the water harvesting structures come in. So over time, like they'll collect water, and obviously the water doesn't run off straight into the ocean or to a stream. And over time, the water is absorbed into the ground, and that's what kind of brings back the the vegetation and all of that type of stuff. That's why I kind of feel like that's a great starting point, especially for barren land or like land that has been like not very well looked after for a long time, because then you can add additional competitions to plant trees when the land is more fertile and can support, large trees and bushes and all of that type of stuff.
So people don't have multiple uses for land. Okay, so now we are in a funny situation where from the solution what we are describing, we seem to be focusing first on the barren land and then guiding them, okay, some simple steps to do first, which is tree planting exercise, for example, or easily measurable, like planting something else, what is like required in the local environment. But your problem statement says people don't have multiple uses for land. But it's kind of, the solution is kind of different, because the land is just dead in our in that example. So,
I guess the problem statement I'm addressing right now, this is like kind of the problem with permaculture, addressing so many things at once. It's probably the other one that we were talking about before, which was the dead land one. Yes, the dying land one. Which I guess is probably an easy one to tackle in terms of like getting people to, something that's not being used to being used is much easier than something that's already being used to use a bunch more things. That, I don't know, feels like a better starting point to get unused land to have some sort of use.
Okay, so I'm changing this. Can we change it to a better problem statement? The land is dying by bad use of land, because that is so clunky wording by me.
So like regenerating neglected land or something along those lines. Restoring.
How does that sound? A lot of land is not used or is barren.
Oh yeah. The problem statement. Sorry, I was looking for the solution. Whatever.
Yeah, I think we kind of close with this solution regarding from our discussion, but we are missing a good problem statement to click with that. Because in the end, we would have go here and make sure a solution answers the problem, and we were already seeing that it didn't. Maybe we could improve that problem statement even further. So why is it a problem that land is not used or is barren? It feels like a redundant question, but let's come with a few quick answers here. So why is it a problem that the land is not used or is barren?
So I guess the main problem probably be that I don't know what the main problem would be. I feel there's a lot of, the degrading of the wildlife, like reduction in biodiversity, I guess is one problem. I think there's a lot of, I don't know if this is a good term to use in this sense, but the opportunity cost. So you have this land here, it has a certain opportunity, so it has a certain amount of rainfall, a certain amount of light shed on that land year round. So if you're not doing anything with that, then it's like
making value is lost. So from these four, basically, is there something, what do you feel like is a good, what do you think is the like best selection of these one? Because a lot of land is not used or is barren is kind of, again, general. But now if you go deeper, then we could create a problem statement of that, which would hopefully match with the solution we just came from.
I guess the one that you put down, the cultivating land, could be a good one. Or yeah, probably the best. Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the value is a good one to incorporate at the same time, even though it does feel more concise. Lost opportunity when land, of
You could put lost opportunity for value.
Or opportunity lost for value. Okay, lost opportunity for value when land is not used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's kind of good, the same thing though, to the first one almost.
No, it's important to put the words in that you're feeling are important. I love what you did there, Tevo, asking Bruno for his feedback. And that makes the statement that much better. I may have taken out something important accidentally, Bruno, by, chopping up words. You've got to keep what's important in your statement.
That's why we do it collectively, even though
exactly
50% of you are quite shy, but that's okay. This is, you evolve by seeing, and then eventually participate, and finally you will teach others to create proposals, hopefully, in my mind. Anyway, back to solution. So we restated our problem statement and looking at our solution. So how do we word it? How would you like that? The solution is focusing on least used or barren land. So focusing on barren land to start harvesting water, to bring back to regenerate the land, I guess. Start wording stuff, and you guys help me in chat or in voice to rename it better.
Bruno, you come up with a really good point here about starting with water, because we've got 10 acres here in BC, and I planted a lot of trees without establishing a proper water system first. And as a result, have lost lots of it. So very good that you're seeing this.
Thank you. Sorry, would we want to include in this statement? So this is what solution, is this a solution statement?
Yeah, I'm trying to create the solution now. We now have to iterate and get it better.
So focusing on barren lands to revitalize it with water harvesting ponds. So incentivizing, would we want to include that, the incentivizing competition part? Or is that like a further explanation of how we do that?
Yeah.
Or would that be in the statement?
If we can, so what would you like word it out? I think it's a good start because it's part from the same solution.
Mm.
If you can bring it in here, then yes.
Okay.
If not, it goes to the detailed plan.
No worries. Okay, I'll try to think of something. Just give me a second. So providing or creating incentivized competitions to revitalize barren land using water harvesting ponds. I don't know if it's too lengthy. I'm not sure the limitations.
Yeah, there's actually 120 characters, so might be. But okay, creating incentivized competition to.
And Bruno,
to
can
what?
you sorry to interrupt, Tevo. Bruno, can you clarify what you mean by incentivized competition?
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of basing this off of something I saw. I mentioned it earlier, but so the incentivized competition would have, so it would likely be using communities or like individual landowners. The specifics I'd have to work out, but so try and get multiple people involved, probably working with like a local community, like already like established local community project, or like a government, local government, so that we have an area that we're focusing on, and then through that structure, whoever has like the most gallons or metric gallons of water harvesting structures placed down, they would have like a prize, which would how can I say, it would be more help towards cultivation and stuff like that. That would be the reward. So rather than the reward being something that is maybe financial directly, it would be further help to like plant stuff or other type of structures. I don't know right off the top of my head, but further the use of the land.
Could I suggest, rather than incentivized competition, it becomes more of a collaboration within the community, so that you don't have landowners competing with one another for the big prize, but that you actually have them cooperating with one another, sharing their ideas, and together they produce X number of liters or gallons of water, and each one of them maybe gets a portion of that share. So it would be a much more collaborative. As soon as I hear competition, I get an awful feeling in my body that people are not going to be cooperating.
Yeah, that's why I kind of think the aerial kind of cooperation, so like the whole village would win the competition rather than individual people winning the competition, if that makes sense. So it's like a collaborative effort in the end, because people are going to be working together on their village and others are working on their village. And I guess I understand we wouldn't want villages to fight over the competition, of course. That's definitely not the plan. But
yeah, you'd want communities to actually be collaborating and cooperating with one another, because even like Tevo does this workshop, and he's hoping that he'll teach us how to do this so that we can do it for somebody else. It's open source. So we want to be, whatever we're creating, in my opinion, it should be something that focuses more on collaboration and cooperation and open source, so that it helps either everybody else. So the incentivized competition, to me, might need to be changed. Yeah.
Mm.
Thanks for considering that.
Sure, no, it's just something to think about, of course. Yeah, but something in that range, or I guess not a competition, but some sort of mechanism that could tokenize not tokenize the structures, but somehow present value to people who do participate in some sort of way.
So rather than a competition, incentivize collaboration.
Yeah, exactly. Something along those lines. So like sharing the specifics of like how they did it and stuff like that, and trying to incentivize others to get involved could be another angle, yeah. So incentivizing collaboration using water harvest, incentivizing collaboration to revitalize barren lands using water harvesting structures or ponds, sorry.
Yeah, just one quick fallback to the Melanie regarding the incentivized competition. It's funny the way people think about it, but today morning when we had this litter coin, well, what actually that is also doing is competition between people who take pictures and clean. So, but it's also healthy competition. So it's like a double-edged sword. But in some worlds, the competition word has been used poorly.
Right, but it's a big problem, and the more people that are actively picking up litter and collecting the data, the quicker it gets solved. So yeah, I didn't catch that in today's litter coin presentation though about competition. Interesting.
He didn't say that, but that is what's happening.
It feels like it. So I have a word. So revitalize barren lands by water harvesting. Do you need to have the ponds in there, Bruno, or is just water harvesting enough?
I feel like for the actual barren land aspect, I feel like water harvesting would need to be using some sort of ponds, or I guess it doesn't need to be specifically ponds, but anything that's in the ground and not, how do you say? It is soluble, so it is absorbed by the ground. So we don't want like plastic, pools or anything.
I have water harvesting off of my roof, and I use a big, huge tote, and it's plastic wire framed. For the winter now in Canada, I've buried one of them. I also collect the big blue barrels. They're plastic, granted, but if it's available and it's not been used for chemical purposes, there may be uses for it. It can also be filtered for use on plants. It may not be healthy enough to drink, but there could be other uses for it. The water that I want to drink off of the roof that doesn't go in the totes, I use a special barrel that I collect that portion and then I put it somewhere else that I can drink from that one. So there's certainly different ways. So you may be limiting your solution by saying water harvesting ponds, because to me that means that you have to use some material, you have to dig, you have to create a pond, which can be a challenge in itself depending on the soil. If you've got sand, you won't be able to keep your water there. You'll have to use a clay layer of something like that. In my case, we're on clay. In the summertime, when it dries out, I get these massive cracks. And if I pour water in there, it disappears like that. In the rainy season, my clay, it takes a long time for it to be saturated. So, that having to create a pond in itself is a whole big education and a big thing. That's just my opinion anyways.
Yeah. Well, I do think, this is the only reason I would disagree, Melanie. But it's just because when I see this competition taking place, it was in a lot of places where like informal settlements and stuff like that, or like small farmer huts and stuff like that. That's where people were living. So for them, like, spades, stuff like this, which was what they were using to like dig the ponds and stuff, was like very handy to them. And there weren't a lot of infrastructure to, like, for example, my house is kind of slanted, my roof, sorry, is slanted in a way where it's like perfect to catch water in the gutters and stuff. A lot of these houses were like very, I don't know, the roofs were quite shabby, so like a lot of different materials used, and I don't know, it feels like in those cases it was more difficult to do what you're saying. But in like for us and in other cases, I feel like, yeah, absolutely, like what you say is like another like massive tool for us to be able to, you know, make the most of the water.
It may be an interesting bonus solution if you are trying to do the rainwater off of a roof, and you help improve, somehow you help improve the roof structure of these shabby structures, right? Because that's,
that could be, and definitely,
you know, and
another
that's raising it raises the community up somehow. Maybe it's funding some sort of paneling for roofs. I don't know. But
my biggest problem probably for all of this is just thinking about the best way to tokenize or like represent value on the blockchain without like being too you know, confusing, or because there's a lot of different angles you can take this, and I do see them in my head, but then sometimes I'm like, well, that's just too complicated. Why would I, you know, I'm thinking of like tokenizing the water, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, so it's just, that's probably my main issue with this whole project, is just trying to find the best structure for it to really go on the blockchain, you know, and seamlessly, not just be there because it's a new technology and we're trying to use it, but be there because that's going to be very helpful, and it will for sure.
Tevo, would you suggest that's going to be when you go through this process, when you get to the point where it says, what does success look like for you? That's going to answer that portion of Bruno's questioning?
It actually kind of does, because if your success is that like, it depends. If your success means that the land is used and it's revitalized, then it's a different thing. But if you say that the success is that the token, what was used to monetize the land, gets value and doesn't drop to zero or doesn't liquidate, then it's a different aspect. But now it all comes back to what is success for you. And for some people, the monetary effect is not, it doesn't mean a success, but what success means that you helped people, you helped the land, or but it when the tokens come into play, I think that is something you will bring in the key performance measurements. So if you want to introduce, like, okay, to make sure that the land is working, we are gonna put down that like water, some kind of that, what you call this device, what measures how much water is there, or something like that. And you all you do is that in the blockchain, I'm gonna go every time, I'm gonna read the under and say what it says, and then put that in the blockchain. And that's the only thing you do. Use maybe every week you do that. You're gonna do it for like 6 months. You're gonna create like 4 times 6, 24 transactions. You're gonna pay about 10 ADA, but you already have data, and it's measurable. People can see it on a blockchain. So this is how could you introduce why Cardano is useful. The cool thing about Catalyst that it is valued by intention, not investment. So if you're helping land and people, then it's a good start, because you will get, after you go through the process and you finally actually succeed to revitalize the land, you build a network with people, you have the practice of how to measure it, how to do it, and you show people, hey, I just succeeded. Look at this amazing land. There's a green grass growing there now. And this is all thanks to the funded proposals. This is how I measured. And this is where I failed. This is what I learned. And if you come again, you probably will get more funding, more people, more network. This creates the network effect. Like, hey, could you help me with my land too? And then you're gonna create the revenue streams. Maybe you will say, hey, I only accept data, and then you are gonna slowly build on Cardano like that. So yeah, think specifically for now to just to learn how to go through this entire idea. And after you go through this, just you will start thinking about the meaning of your own, is this what you actually want to do, or should I move on to something further, or optimize that even further? So it's like an iterative progress.
Because there's one thing in this to create the system to do the watering, and another to do the application that incentivizes it, right?
Yeah.
There's two big parts to this proposal.
It's getting quite late, but we almost got there. So so in the conclusion, what we did today was we tried to, we had the initial ideas, we created the problem statement of that, then we jumped into solutions, and we found out that the solutions does not match with the problem we created. We went back to the problem statement, we pivoted to a different problem statement, and ended up with a new problem statement, and then reworded a solution for that. What would be next is to give 3 reasons why this solution is solving the problem. That is just helping you to connect with your problem and solution. In that case, why is the solution solving the problem? Would be that the lost opportunity value is when land is used. So we are losing the land is one reason. We are creating value on the land would be a second reason. And the third one would be harder to maybe from the top of the head to come up with, but we probably would have figured it out. Yeah, next one would be the other chapters. So so far, is there any feedback to have for the process we had, or did this help you, Bruno, at all? And if it did, how did it help? So that I could improve the process, or just know that what were the strengths of that?
No, I think it was very helpful actually. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to go through anything of mine, but yeah, that definitely helped me a lot to clear my head and to get them down. Is this going to be all saved, this little thing that you made, my presentation?
Yes, this is all remains the same. Nobody will change it. It will last for quite a while. If you want the clear template, then here is a link to another one. The last.
Yeah, I was just curious about listening to this process and stuff, and yeah, seeing how something can getting started. That was very interesting. Thank you for that.
Right.
I have some feedback too, Tevo, just, coming from this, from my knowledge base and my preconceived ideas, and the way that you facilitated this, it opened up for way better discussion, and it allowed for Bruno's perspective and the things that was important for him to come through. Sometimes in a group you have 2 people coming in and they butt heads. And it was really nice to sit back, watch you facilitate the conversation, and allow Bruno to speak. So this was really great experience for me. Good facilitation.
Thank you. Okay, unless I forgot something, then this session is concluded. I'm gonna close the screen.
Thanks so much, Tevo. It's been a long day. Oh my goodness.